Hi guys, welcome back to Random Lifestyle Vlog and welcome to another blind buy fragrance haul video. So this haul is going to be a little bit different though because I purchased fragrances I already own. However weird that may sound, there is a good explanation for that. I purchased the different versions of the fragrances I own. And by that I mean Eau de Toilette versus Eau de Parfum, or the regular versus the intense version. So if you want to find out what I picked up this time, keep watching. So there's one thing I need to tell you to begin with. For many years I thought Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum are the same fragrance, just in a different concentration. So I never bothered to try Eau de Parfum when I tried Eau de Toilette, and I hated it because I was like, what's the point, right? Now that I know better and I know that these fragrances, that these versions sometimes have completely different notes, I try to explore my options. I try to test different versions of my favorite fragrances, hence this video. So that leads me to my first fragrance and my first purchase. This is Mon Guerlain Eau de Toilette. So this fragrance for me is a perfect daytime fragrance with no particular season. Just, you know, this composition doesn't really indicate that it should be worn in a particular type of weather. For me, this is like a perfect all year rounder. And the main notes here are lavender, vanilla, and some citrusy notes like bergamot and I think mandarin. So the lavender is traditionally a masculine note. It's used in masculine fragrances, but recently it made so many appearances in female fragrances and I love it. I love nicely made lavender, and this one is gorgeous. Like a really sweet, well-rounded lavender. This fragrance is quite lightweight, not too offensive. I think it's a perfect office fragrance. Also, I think if you like lavender, obviously you have to like lavender for that, but if you like lavender, this is quite a safe blind buy too. So this is Eau de Parfum Intense version, and yes, it is more intense for sure. It is more intense on lavender especially, so you have to really like lavender to appreciate this fragrance. It's a little bit sharper than Eau de Toilette. Much more sharper than Eau de Toilette, I should probably say. It's more nostalgic, more melancholic. That's why I only use it in autumn, sometimes in winter. So definitely not an all year rounder, not a safe blind buy too, unless you really like lavender. I think the Eau de Toilette is much safer, much more of a crowd pleaser fragrance, whereas this one is more of an acquired taste. So I would advise to try before you buy it. So is it worth to have both of these fragrances in your collection? I personally don't think so. These fragrances are still quite similar, this one being sharper and more like lavendery. Other than that, I think there's really no point. Personally, I will just keep Eau de Parfum Intense. I could easily live without the Eau de Toilette. Now that I have it, I'll probably use it. I will have the springtime version of this fragrance for myself. I do prefer the Eau de Parfum Intense much more. It has more edge to it, more character, but obviously it's not for everybody. You really have to like that take on lavender. So definitely no need of having both of these in your collection unless you love this fragrance and you want to have a version of it for every occasion. So my next fragrance is Nomad by Chloe, and this is Eau de Parfum. I have to tell you that the first thing that I can smell when I spray it on my skin is cinnamon. Funny enough, there's no cinnamon in it. The main notes here are marble, some citrusy fruit, freesia, peach, some other flowers, oak moss, amberwood, some patchouli, musk and sandalwood. These are the notes. There is no mention about cinnamon. I definitely can smell cinnamon. So this is really nice, fruity, mossy scent with prominent cinnamon that apparently is not there. Must be just my imagination, I don't know. But I actually heard some people saying that they can smell cinnamon here too, so it's not just me. Please let me know down in the comments below if you try this one. Can you smell cinnamon in it? And just to mention, this is Eau de Parfum, right? Not Eau de Toilette. We're going to talk about Eau de Toilette in a minute, but we're just focusing on this one first. So I think this is a perfect fragrance for daytime, spring, summer. With the cinnamony note, I think you could even pull it off in autumn. Not much of a wintry scent though, in my opinion. Too much of that oak moss that makes it, you know, a little bit more sunny in my head. So I think this one Is it a safe blind buy? I'm not sure. I think the cinnamony note may be irritating for some people. Other people might not really like that oak moss note. I would say try it before you buy it, just because you might not like it. And unless you live in America where you can actually return like used fragrances, it's probably best not to waste your money on something you might not like. So here the fragrance I already owned is the Eau de Toilette, which is this one here. And don't be fooled by the packaging, that is very similar. This fragrance is actually quite different. The main similarity here is this oak moss note. After like 2 hours, they smell very similar on my skin, but the opening gives me like completely different experience in each case. So the main notes in case of this Eau de Toilette are oak moss and lychee, and that makes it a perfect fragrance for spring, summer maybe, and that's it. That's a very sunny green fragrance. Not a safe blind buy too. The oak moss might be a little bit controversial unless you're pretty sure you're going to love oak moss. I still think it's best to try it first. So these fragrances, guys, are different enough to justify having them both in your collection. Also, as I mentioned before, completely different experience from these fragrances. So if you tried one of them and you hated it, try the other one and you might be surprised because you might actually love it. If I were to choose only one of them, I would go for Eau de Toilette because it's more edgy. I think it's more original too, so definitely that would be my choice. But I'm actually quite happy to have both of them in my collection now because, as I said, they're just different enough for me. So my blind buy number 3 is Angel Muse Eau de Parfum. I always wanted to try it. I love the Eau de Toilette, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But let's talk about this one first. So I bought this small 30 ml size. Obviously, I don't really need any big fragrances at the moment. I have so many. So I decided to go for a smaller bottle. So this is how the bottle looks. And I have to tell you, I'm actually quite impressed with this fragrance. But trust me, this is definitely not a safe blind buy, definitely not. This is an overdose of patchouli, vetiver and Nutella. This fragrance is sweet and gourmandish, but it also has this like bitterness or dryness to it. I think dark chocolate, like a super dark chocolate. There is some sweetness in it, but it's like very dry and bitter at the same time. So this is the similar feeling. Obviously it doesn't smell like dark chocolate. It smells like hazelnut, Nutella type of vibe. And patchouli and vetiver too. There are some notes in the opening, apparently pink pepper and grapefruit, but I can't really catch them that much. I think the other 3 notes are just so overpowering that I don't really mind because I don't like grapefruit. But yeah, I actually love it, but definitely something you probably would want to test before buying, unless you are so sure that you're going to love Mugler's fragrance and you love patchouli, then why not blind buy it. And then we have Eau de Toilette, which is the fragrance I already owned, and as you can see, it's a little bit different color of the juice inside, or it's just the glass. Yeah, it's just the glass, so it's a different color. This fragrance is much safer, I think, for blind buys. This is passion fruit, Nutella too. It contains vetiver, obviously. It doesn't contain patchouli. Let me just have a quick look at the notes. So yeah, apart from this passion fruit and Nutella and vetiver, there's some mandarin, some lemon, some woody notes, chocolate, caramel. So as you can imagine, this one is much safer. Also, I get more of that original Angel DNA in this one. So if you love the original Angel, you might actually prefer this one. This one is a little bit sharper. I can't really tell which one I prefer. I'm really happy I have both of them. They are similar, but they are different enough to have both of them in your collection. So I'm quite happy. They are for like definitely different occasions. I think the Eau de Parfum will be better for colder days, for autumn, for winter even, whereas this one, thanks to this like passion fruit note that's very fruity and juicy and like kind of girly, it's better for like this time of the year. I'm just looking outside the window and it's really gloomy, so I'm not sure if what I'm saying makes sense. So we have a similar vibe in 2 different approaches here: playful, fruity and sweet, and here we have dirtier, rougher version of this vibe. So the last of my purchases is another Guerlain fragrance. So we started with Guerlain, we're finishing with Guerlain. This is La Petite Robe Noir Eau de Parfum Intense. So we have the classic La Petite Robe Noir bottle, just a different shade, obviously. The main note here is, or one of the main notes here is blueberries, so the shade kind of makes sense, right? So the most prominent notes for me are blueberry, obviously, cotton candy, cassis, and patchouli. I think the patchouli is actually more noticeable here than in other La Petite Robe Noir fragrances, the ones I tried at least. This is a gorgeous, mouth-watering scent, perfect for spring, but even more so for summer. It's just so delicious. It's very juicy, but not syrupy. Not syrupy, I would say. I think it's like watery juicy, which is, yeah, it's really cool. So let's compare this to the fragrance I already own, which is La Petite Robe Noir Eau de Toilette. And this fragrance is mostly concentrated around cherry. So obviously these fragrances are different, right? Cherry, blueberry. I mean, cherry and blueberry, they don't smell alike. So it kind of makes me think, how on earth this is an intense version of this? I don't get that. Honestly, there is a certain similarity to them in the way they're both like kind of juicy without being syrupy, and they're both obviously mouth-watering and delicious, but how on earth they're supposed to be the same fragrance, just in an intense version here? I don't get that, honestly, I don't get it. So just to compare, the main notes here in the Eau de Toilette version of this fragrance are cherry, obviously, there is apple, there is some patchouli too, and musk. I think the patchouli and musk notes kind of connect these fragrances. Also, there are some floral notes that are similar in both fragrances, but I don't really find them prominent enough or detectable enough to justify this being an intense version of this. Other than that, I think definitely if you want to buy both of them, just go for it. These are just different fragrances, completely different fragrances with maybe a little bit of like a similarity, but it's not enough to even compare these, okay? Two completely different fragrances. Get this one if you like cherries and apples, get this one if you like blueberries and cotton candy. I think this one is a little bit sweeter, so maybe this is the reason for this being an intense version, I don't know. But I actually heard that the Eau de Parfum version of this is actually quite sweet too, so I don't know. Honestly, it just baffles me that these fragrances are so different, honestly. Definitely worth having them both in your collection if you love fruity fragrances and if you don't mind a little bit of patchouli. So what do you guys think about my choices? Have you tried any of those fragrances? What's your experience with them? Please let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you were able to compare the pairs I mentioned, please let me know what was your experience with them, and did you find them similar or completely different? I would love to know. Also, if you're interested in our fragrance content, please remember that we're posting fragrance videos every Friday now, and also check these videos on my left. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to see you very soon. Take care, bye!